Hey, what's up? How's it going? It's Rob and welcome to Leaf Curious. What are you doing down there? Let's get you up. Have you ever thought about how you can get involved with rewilding? Have you ever thought to yourself, what's the point in rewilding when I've only got a small piece of land? Well, there's some of the questions that I want to find some answers to in today's video. I see the positive effects of rewilding carrying the same weight as the negative effects of industrialization, or anything considered the opposite of rewilding. Over the last 100 years, humans' impact on Earth has accelerated. This impact has been felt in a number of ways. And unfortunately, it's been a negative one for our planet's natural systems. There's been large-scale damaging actions like the mass mining and burning of Earth's finite resources, or the destruction of our ancient jungles to facilitate agriculture and urbanization. Up to this point in human history, man's need for more has certainly come at the expense of nature. But that cost to nature can often be deceiving and subtle. And unfortunately, woven into these negative impacts are many smaller factors. Everyday things we use, such as fossil-fueled cars or wood-burning stoves, to small-scale developments of buildings and roads that ever expand our urban footprint. Now, these small things by themselves, they probably wouldn't cause much harm, but that's the problem. There's many of them, and of course, they're cumulative. And when added to the bigger contributors, you end up with an even larger and very complex problem. So when we have the question, is small-scale rewilding worth it? I have to argue that it is. If anything, it's as essential as large-scale rewilding. You know, you can never reintroduce the bison to the centre of London, but what you could do is create a green network of trees, plants and wildflowers going through the streets. Yes, rewilding is more effective on a larger scale, but we just can't do that in our towns and in our cities. But what we can do is to just do everything that we can. Each person, every property owner, every business owner has to look at their patch of land and ask themselves, how can we turn this for nature? You know, for me, rewilding is a symbol of hope, and with the current issues that we're facing in this modern day, we need it. And the great thing about rewilding is that it is accessible to everyone. So let's go into a few ways that you can get started on rewilding your space, no matter how small. If you find yourself with absolutely no outside space, you can look to your windows. This is your immediate connection with the outdoors. Create plant boxes with plants that insects and birds will love. You can even include a small cup of water. It's most likely that you're in a flat, so speak with your neighbours about doing the same, and you could create a really green and valuable space. You can also look to community areas such as allotments or parks. If you find that you have a very small patch of land, there are a number of great things that you can do. Plants are essential. Look to get as many in as you can, and make sure you use the vertical space too. A small bucket of water acting as a pond for birds to have a drink is also a good touch. Again, always think about how your space interacts with the environment around it. Try and get your neighbours involved to have the best impact. If you have a smaller garden with a lawn, it would be a good idea to allow for certain areas of the grass to grow tall. You can introduce a small pond. This can just be an old washing up bowl set in the ground. A compost heap is a great idea too, as slow worms love them. Planting a native tree such as a rowan or a field maple is a great idea too. Deadwood piles as well as leaf piles are also brilliant habitat. If you can, create little gaps in the fencing to allow for small animals to pass through. Generally, the philosophy of a wilder garden is a messier garden, but remember that the mess is beautiful. And remember, you don't have to let your whole garden go to the wild, but you have to allow for certain areas. Gardens of around an acre or a little bit more, you can do a little bit more with. Generally, you can do everything that has been mentioned, but just on a slightly larger scale. Being a passive, or some might say a lazy gardener, is nature's best friend. Just allow for nature to do its thing for a year. You'd be amazed at what can happen. You may have enough space to reintroduce a grazing animal or two to help regulate their habitat. If you have a larger space, you also have an opportunity to invite other people in who are also interested in rewilding. Set up camera traps, do little surveys, and monitor what goes on within your space. Always look at how your space interacts with the mosaic of the land around it. You may be able to link two very important pieces of habitat together. And always remember that rewilding doesn't follow strict guidelines. It's a philosophy as much as it is a management practice. Rewilding is a word that should motivate people to get out there and do something good for nature. I hope I've gave you some good ideas on how you can get started in rewilding, and I hope I've illustrated the importance of small-scale rewilding. Thanks for watching, leave curious. By the way, the ankle is so much better now. Look at this movement. Look at this range of movement. Thanks for watching.